Yo, what's good, Kaspa fam? We're back, and it is insane. Kaspa right now, in terms of its technology, in terms of its price, you can't get a better deal than this right now. Okay, we look at the MACD on the weekly time frame; it is pointing up right now. We look at Bitcoin; it has its for 2 weeks in a row. The green candlesticks on the weekly. I mean, man, this is beautiful, beautiful to see. And it doesn't just stop at Kaspa. You know, the cycle is going to be centered around Kaspa. That's for sure. You see, it has the largest gains and all that from the bottom. But we also look across the market. Okay, I'm going to be looking at USD. I'm going to be looking at the dollar. I'm going to be looking at gold. I'm going to be looking at even Solana, Bitcoin, and of course Nacho, Kango. See how they're doing and what's coming for Kaspa's ecosystem with the layer two and 10 BPS, which unlocks the whole layer two capabilities of ZK, based rollups. How that is going to upgrade Kaspa and potential investment opportunities from it. So let's see. Let's start with Solana here, okay? Slowlana, so slow and centralized. Um, it's bottoming out as well. So like as garbage as it is, and it honestly deserves to be at -9 uh billion market cap. It's also seeing a bottom here. So I mean, you look across altcoins and all that. Traders be trading, and they like especially in the short term. Uh, it's been in a long downtrend, and now it's breaking out. So it's good to see, but Kaspa is the real deal here, and that's why it's just the perfect setup. Look at Bitcoin as well. It's doing good, It's doing its thing. Holding up pretty well. Bounce from here. Could definitely see a retest at 100K range. We're gonna have to see, how Bitcoin plays out. But it's the CAS Bitcoin chart. This is the thing that is primed. This is the rocket that's primed. And if we even like look at Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, um, we see that it really wants to head up to this like 12 cent range. It could definitely hover up there for a while. So it's not just like the 10 cent, but it could definitely hit up to 12 cent, and it's still in a macro uptrend. Let's get it. Awesome to see. And now what's up with the dollar? Okay, so gold's been blasting off. I'm saying like, yeah, it's way overbought, and overbought. I mean, it's being overbought for a reason because the dollar is failing. People haven't felt this insecure since like World War II. Okay, the levels of uncertainty have just been unreal, and that's why gold has been blasting off. And absolutely, I do believe Bitcoin is going to follow, especially in the coming month or two. I think it's going to see a very similar trend to gold. I do believe Bitcoin, lags behind gold, and we see that also not just with gold, but also the M2 global liquidity of the fiat. Um, we see Bitcoin lagging behind that by around 108 days, and it's been following to the point of around 80% accuracy. It's been following pretty well. So we're going to see, especially in the next month, how well Bitcoin follows the trend. So gold has been blasting off. Makes sense. Still overbought, but gold is gold. It's the safe haven. People are more secure, feel more safe than that than in the dollar, than in stocks and things like that. We look at the dollar now, and so it's been collapsing. This is on the 6 month. Okay, so let me bring it down to a little bit. All right, here's the daily chart, and it's collapsed. Okay, it's fallen quite a lot. Um, so technically, I mean, within the past like 2 years, it technically hasn't is at a low point. So there's a lot of room to fall. We'll look at the 6 month range where every single data point is 6 months. So every candle here represents a period of 6 months. This is creating a, a double top, a double peak right here, where it can easily fall. Okay, it can easily fall down to this low Bollinger. And once it does that, I mean, this represents a very much of a low point. Okay, you got like COVID era, you got um And then this stuff down here, this is like where the economy was terrible during that 2008 banking crisis. And I'm not saying we're headed there, but it certainly could happen. And if it does, we retest that low. The dollar retest goes down to that low, similar to the 2008 level. It would have to drop down here and then fall through. Like basically, look at the dollar. Now this is on the yearly time frame. Every single candle represents a year. So like in the next few years, there's a lot of room for the dollar to fall, basically. And that's where it's certainly going to fall. Like with how the whole economy is geared right now, and the trade war with China, and that the U.S. debt. Like here, let me just pull up a chart real quick. I was going to go over the power laws, but um, look at this. The U.S. federal debt held by the public is at 122%. Levels not since World War II, which is pretty insane. And it's like this billionaire investor is, sharing his thoughts about it basically, and he's basically saying choose things that are inflation-proof assets, like Kaspa, Bitcoin. He really thinks Bitcoin is as digital gold. It's not a currency, but a store of value. Um, it's basically a hedge to be used wisely. Um, but when you see the dollar like at this, the debt, the credit, it's not looking good. And uh, yeah, with such high tensions globally, the dependence on the dollar is falling, and it's going to keep falling. The U.S. has created an empire, and each empire has its peak, and then it falls. And I believe the dollar is at its peak. That's pretty much very certain that it's now it's on the fall. And we look at also across the treasury, the bonds. Looking at even the 10-year bond, you could look at it, compare even like the 20-year, 30-year bond. Just the macro bonds for the U.S. for the dollar. Now this represents the um, like the interest, okay, that you buy the bond, you gain the interest. We're at around like 4%. And we look here at the MACD. This is on the 6-month time frame. Again, this is very macro. We see that technically it's been in an uptrend. So basically what this represents is the markets have been, the stock, basically look at like the stock market, financial markets have been doing very, very well. So people have been preferring, investing in the stock market rather than in this like 10-year bond for the dollar. They've been investing elsewhere. So the rates have been, going down a lot. So, and now in 2021, people are since then, people chose to, okay, maybe the stock markets, for example, is very overpriced, and they're all like, okay, let's invest in the dollar, something more stable. And that's what's been going on for the past since around 2020, for basically since the past 5 years. So now the next, so from in 3 years time, it saw this type of setup. It created this hill. And once we see a hill like this, especially on a macro time frame for the MACD, that's where the asset becomes overbought. It becomes overvalued. So we're gonna see it retest, especially down to this like low, this mid Bollinger. And to retest, it's going to need to complete the hill. And we're already starting to see that in the past 6 months. So it's going to need at least another 3 years to complete this hill. If it has a similar setup here, where it took 3 years to create it, it's going to need about another 3 years to finish it. So what that means is basically in the next 3 years, assets like, for example, things that are safe from inflation, the safe haven, the gold, Bitcoin, of course, Kaspa, are going to very likely see large increases in their value. People are going to be putting the money from the dollar, from investing in the dollar, to investing in something riskier or something safer, better than the dollar. We all know what that is. So I expect that to be in the next to take up a period of time for the next 3 years up to 5 years. And from then it's hard to say what based on the chart. I mean, it could continue an uptrend. The dollar could see a bounce, and could continue to grow strong. Highly doubt that, seeing how and where the dollar is headed. But especially compared to crypto. Um, but at least it looks good in the near term. In the next few years, it looks good for the crypto markets, and that's awesome to see. Comparing to dollar, and that's basically the main comparison. Gold is on our side, but at a time period, we're going to finally see money from gold enter Bitcoin, and that's something even Trump administration is thinking about. Using gold as a buying power for acquiring Bitcoin. We're gonna have to see, and there's a lot of different legislation that's extremely bullish for crypto as well, like the stablecoin framework. That's I could go into a video with that. Extremely bullish, and also bullish, extremely bullish for Kaspa, because imagine USDT using the Kaspa network to transact, to receive, to send. The transactions are going to happen so fast and so cheap. It's going to be hard to pass up. And already USDT is in talks with Kaspa, with is it Kaspa Kef or Key? I forget which one of them. But they're already in talks, and they're like, or Casplex, and they're already in agreement to, they want to wait for the layer 2 to, before, integrating. They were thinking about integrating on KRC20 itself, but they want to wait for the layer 2, and that's fine. So, yeah, I mean, the stablecoin environment, that's a whole other thing to go into. Very bullish for not just Kaspa, but also its adoption into like the real world. Stablecoin adoption, that's awesome. And especially projects like Gigawatt and things like that. So it's really good to see. Kaspa with respect to gold, it's again, it shows similar as like with respect to Bitcoin, extremely undervalued. We look at meme coins, they're holding up. They're extremely still under the radar, and that's what you basically expect at this point. Kaspa's gaining a lot of hype right now, and that's great. So a lot of attention has been with Kaspa development, and that makes sense with the layer 2 ecosystems, with Eager Labs, Casplex, these different dexes that are in development that are currently in testnet. So lending protocols like with Kaspa.com. So a lot of different development is in the works. So it's some of that attention gets off of the meme coin narrative, and that's totally okay. So for now, I would expect for the meme coins, Nacho, Kango, to still be at their like dormant state. Once the dexes release on Kaspa, the dex aggregators and all that, I could go into videos with that explaining it. But it's going to be able to have everything on chain. We're not going to have to rely on centralized exchanges to be the form of, to transact, to buy and sell meme coins. Now, the majority of trading volume for the top blockchains, like for Solana, Ethereum, the trading volume for these meme coins happen mostly on dexes, decentralized exchanges. So, these KRC20 is spending so much of their money on centralized exchanges, things like that. It's not going to be as necessary. And sure, it's a great way to expose the token to a greater audience, and for an improved liquidity and all that. But especially for the lower micro caps and things like that, they're going to be able to thrive while still on a DEX and not having to pay ridiculous amounts to scam exchanges and the liabilities that exchanges have. So that's also great. So yeah, so now let's go into the power law. So I made a bookmark, all these different topics to discuss. I'll finish off with the power law. So Bitcoin power law fits to 95% accuracy to the regression, linear regression. Very mathematical and fitting quite well. It's at a very much a fair value, about 2% above the fair value. Very perfect, very, very in line. Makes sense. So Kaspa is fitting the linear regression of the power law, 89 to 89% accuracy. Again, this is still incredible, and it's even holding up better than it used to, like back in the early day. Seems to be holding up better, and I very much expect this to be the bottom. I might have one more retest of the low, but I'm not banking on that. I'm not counting on it. I don't think that's going to happen. So we're gonna have to see. And this power law is gonna be insane. We're at the absolute bottom of the bottom. We're not gonna see this anymore. See, this type of downtrend is created by institutional JEETs. Like for example, Marathon Digital. They were mining Kaspa, but secretly converting the Kaspa to Bitcoin using Nice Hash, for example. And like because Kaspa is already at over 90% mined, you're not going to be able to take advantage of Kaspa anymore like that. So these type of sell pressure, these sell events from this sell pressure of like big institutional miners, isn't going to have is going to be much less effective. You see giant exchanges are loading up, and they continue to load up day after day or week after week, and they continue millions of dollars. And that's incredible to see. And they're loading up now because they know they're not going to have this opportunity again in the coming months and coming years. So Kaspa couldn't be better at this level. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of topics to discuss. So I'm gonna just end it there, and make more videos on the different topics. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, comment, like, do your thing. Thanks for all your support. Peace out.